Howdy, partners. Welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum Podcast, Red Hot Action Summer. This year, we're not going to a specific era. Instead, we're heading out west in what we're calling Westward Ho. This time, you'll find American Westerns from all kinds of eras. There's sure to be some Clint Eastwood, some Peckinpah, and even John Wayne, with a couple surprises thrown in as well. So tell your ma and pa, come on out, saddle up, and listen in all August for Red Hot Action Summer, Westward Ho. Hey everyone, it's Ryan from Blood and Black Rum Podcast. I'm joined with my co-host Martin.
How's it going? Or howdy, y'all.
Yeah, howdy, partner. Well, we are into our Red Hot Action Summer. Do this every year. Starting it just a little bit early. I think we normally start right at the beginning of August, and this episode is going to hit just before August 1st, but we decided, you know what? What's an extra week of Red Hot Action Summer? Who cares? And summer, right? Whether it's July, August, whatever, it doesn't matter.
You're welcome.
That's right. And you and this year, you should get your saddles ready. Get your bags packed, your saddlebags packed. Hopefully you've brought some tack with you, because you're going to be on a long journey with us as we're heading out west. Calling this Westward Ho, or otherwise known as Ryan and Martin Go West, the American story. Okay, quite literally too, the American story, because. Right. Go ahead. What?
I was gonna say it's Red Hot Action Month. This time, we're not in a decade. We're in a genre. We're going Westward Ho.
That's right. And like I was saying, it's specifically American, too. We decidedly stayed away from spaghetti Western styles this time, and picked a more Americanized versions of the Western. And just because, we've done quite a few spaghetti Westerns in the past, it was time to do some actual American Westerns. Classic red-blooded Western stories. So that's what we're doing this time. We are, like you said, we're not going to stick to a particular era. We are going to be, and actually, I think we've picked a nice mix of eras instead of sticking to any one particular time period. So we're going to be going back and forth from, classics to newer films to everything in between. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a lot of fun times, trying to, go get a little bit historical, get a little bit, bring our own expertise of Westerns, or their lack thereof, especially of American Westerns. Looking at you, John Wayne.
I thought you were talking about Han Solo and Cowboy versus Alien.
Yes. Yeah. No, not that one. Not that horrible movie. I've never seen it, but I've heard it is awful. I stayed away from that one. But no, this should be fun. And so the first one that we're starting off with is actually a classic, a tried and true classic American Western film from 1969, kind of the heyday of the Westerns. And at this point too, a lot of Westerns had come and gone, and there were a few more to come, but it actually was in the sort of the waning years of the American Western at that time. And so we are talking about Sam Peckinpah, who's making a return onto our podcast as well, we should say. Making a return.
What number film?
Second one?
Nope.
I want to say. How many have we done? I don't even remember. 3?
This is our third film. We've done Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid.
Oh, yes, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. That's right.
And Straw Dogs.
I forgot about Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid.
How could you forget Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid?
Just kind of forgot. I don't know. I forgot that we did it.
You forgot Bob Dylan?
Just completely forgot. Didn't realize.
94-year-old Chris Christopherson, Billy the Kid, 6'5", 300 pounds.
Darn right. That's right. But we're talking about The Wild Bunch this time around. The Wild Bunch from 1969.
Which is a movie that I've mentioned quite a bit on the podcast.
Yeah. And we're not talking about grapes either. which this I don't know why, but the title itself just reminds me of like a nice package of grapes, nice little green grapes. They're the wild bunch.
It's the mix.
Yeah, exactly. It's purple and black and green grapes all in one. A wild bunch for you.
A wild berry mix.
That's right.
Of berries,
So why the wild bunch for you?
It's a film that I've wanted to do for the podcast for quite a long time. So when we were talking about what we were going to do for this Red Hot Action Month, I pitched to you, and I was like, we're going to do the 80s, or we're going to do the 90s and 2000s, and I put at the end of their westerns. And I was surprised, acceptive to that. I wasn't thinking you'd go for that. So when you said yes, the first one off my mind was, you got to do the Wild Bunch.
Yeah.
And try to keep it American because we've done a lot more spaghettis, which than we have, regular American westerns. So I think it'd be fun to, go to that style and genre and hit the gamut. And the reason why I picked the Wild Bunch is, one, it is a great movie. Two, it's done by a great director. Three, I'm replaying Red Dead Redemption 1 right now because I got a free month of GTA Plus from pre-ordering GTA 6. So I've been playing that again, and that game is incredibly Wild Bunch coded and, tributes and hints and stuff. So it was the time. Now's the time to finally, cross this bridge and cover the film. So I've only, and as I've mentioned before on the podcast, I have seen it before. I only saw it once. It was like back in college when Red Dead, the first one, came out, and nothing really stuck with me because I don't think when I was watching it, I was sitting down like hyper engaged with the film, So I was watching on my laptop, and I was, 15 years later, excited to give another watch with fresh eyes and give another go and see, what Sam's doing. Is this better than Pat Garrett?
That's right. I've never seen the Wild Bunch. It's the first experience for me. I do know of it. Again, I've also played Red Dead Redemption, so I do know it. I do know, obviously Dutch. And this movie is certainly an inspiration for the video games coming after. And those types of things, and especially too, the whole idea that proliferated. And I'm not going to say that the Wild Bunch had done it first, but this whole idea of people trying to adapt to the changing times is obviously a big part of the Wild Bunch as well. Like I said, it's not the first movie to do that. It's maybe not the one that has the most inspirational elements to it, but it certainly has that as part of its wide themes. And I think that a lot of films have taken from this particular film because it was so widely distributed for American audiences as well, whereas some of the others came later, especially for American audiences. So. I think, like I said, I know of it, but I've never really seen it, or actually, I don't even think I've ever seen like anything from it either, which is kind of surprising. Like no real clips or anything, so nothing stands out to me after watching it. But yeah, it was interesting.
I was gonna say, it's definitely not going to be shown on TV back in the day.
No, exactly.
Too many boobies and squibs.
Yeah, I think part of the whole idea of the Wild Bunch, especially for an Americanized Western, was that it was so violent. And and maybe not as it's not like surprising to somebody who has seen a lot of spaghetti westerns as well, because spaghetti westerns also. We're kind of known for being on the more violent side at times, but I think at the time this did shock a lot of American audiences who had not yet experienced a lot of spaghetti westerns.
I think just because, the squibs showing the violence. Because again, when you think about it, when you think about your stereotypical John Wayne at Red River, Rio Bravo, fighting the engines, it's violent. They're shooting people, they're killing people, but it's done with a ha. Isn't this great?
Yeah,
like
sort
what
of
a wonderful time.
Or it's like well, what harm's really coming from it?
It's just
they're just
killing,
like little.
They're just
plastic.
savages. It's fine. Who cares? And it's I I love that kind of premise and aspect of like it seems like silly and stupid now because it's been done to death. It's like when anytime like if you're a comic book fan of DC and like the Superman goes evil and you're like because it's been done to death. But the first time when it gets like kind of like done like the first couple of times it's pretty awe-inspiring because again the Western, especially the American Westerns, the John Ford Western is it like they're mythical tales. There are as the Odyssey's out right now, like there are mythology, there are gods and in mythology like of our of America, the West, the untamed land that we're going out there to settle and fight beasts that we don't know. So like it's like to see that totally being turned on its head with like dour down bandits that just like shooting and drinking their way out of every everything and it being a bloody mess is it's cool.
Yeah, I agree.
And the whole 1913 like the dead days of the West so.
last days of the West. Yeah. All right, so let's stop there for a second and take a break, and we'll go over the beer that we have on the show today. All right, so for the beer, so funny thing, I was looking in the store today for pretty much anything that would be even remotely related to a theme for the movie, and I was really coming up short. For one thing, in our local small beer store, I do feel like we are running dry on things that we have not covered or are not expired. So that leaves a very little amount of things to actually find. So, and especially considering the theme of being like some sort of Western or, Texas or something like that, like it was very, very limited. And then I went to the, just kind of like the more mass availability beers and exports and stuff like that. And I did find that we had, some cervezas, and just looking at them, they didn't really, they didn't remind me of anything. Like I couldn't remember ever having them before. So I grabbed Victoria, which is a cerveza style made in Mexico. It's technically made by Modelo. The company as a whole makes a number of different types of beer, including their name flagship Modelo. But they also make this beer Victoria. And so the packaging really did not stand out to me. I was like, I don't remember ever having this before. So I grabbed it. And then I was doing some more research and found, hey, we've actually had this beer before. I don't really remember having it myself, but then I did a look back and I was like, we had this beer in 2017. So that's kind of lines up with probably an early episode of our show. And then I went and did some more research into our show, and I was able to find that, yes, in fact, we did have this beer on the show back in May of 2017 in our 90s slasher month when we covered The Faculty, back on episode 66.
Which, by the way, 6-7. But also two things. One, I didn't recognize it either at all. Two, go back and check out 90 Slasher Month.
There you go. Yeah, it's a good callback.
It's some of Ryan's best music making for our theme.
It's true.
I inspired it. I thought really hard about what we should do for that, and he made it come. Come. But three, and the Josh Hartnett hair and.
Right, it's very prominent back then because we did a couple of Josh Hartnett films for that.
Yeah,
so.
And Famke Janssen's titties.
So, unfortunately, we have had Victoria on the show before. It has been a decade now almost. So,
that's why when we do reviews now, Ryan puts in his Untapped review.
I have to, yeah, because otherwise I will not know. So, and sometimes I wasn't a good record keeper about what we had on the show, so I didn't necessarily always mark it. But I was able to find that we definitely did it back then. But it was in collaboration with Pacifico Clara. So we did both of them on the same episode, which I believe was because there was like some sort of Modelo 12 pack at that time. It was like a mixed pack of all the Modelo produced beers, including Victoria, Pacifico Clara. I want to say probably Modelo and Modelo Negra were all included in that, or something like that. And because we had never had either of those, we did them for the episode. With that said, unfortunately, it's a repeat, but what are you going to do? You know, over the course of 10 years, there's bound to be repeats. And to be honest with you, I do not remember this beer at all. So, I think it's fine to revisit this beer and see what we think about it this time. I do know that I saw Martin's check-in, and he only gave it a 2 at the time. So we'll see if that has changed since then. If his opinion of the beer is any higher than it was then. For me, go ahead. What?
I was gonna say it might be because of the antidepressants. You know, it's a little bit better.
There you go. Yeah. So for me, Victoria is a pretty standard cerveza style. I want to say that it's maybe a little bit maltier, maybe a little bit more of more palatable taste to it, like a very it's maybe a little bit on the heavier side in terms of the maltiness to it. I think that overall, though, it does just kind of seem like another bog standard, mass-produced, imported cerveza. I'm not saying that it's bad. I do think it's pretty drinkable, and it has a nice, like, like medium body to it that it kind of makes it drinkable, but also on the heavier side for cerveza style. And I would say that it maybe has a little bit of excessive sweetness to it as well. It's a little bit sweeter than some of the other cerveza styles that I've had. So I would say, like, I find Victoria is not bad. It probably would not be the cerveza that I would turn to first. You know, if there was options, I probably wouldn't go with Victoria first. But I think it's fair enough. It does the job, and I think, it's a pretty standard cerveza style that doesn't really have a lot of like standout components to it. And for you, what do you think? Is it better, worse than you had it before? What do you think?
Well, it's definitely better than the 2 that I gave it. It is like, in thinking about, like, as I was giving you the little lesson on, like, Maximilian, the Emperor of Mexico for like 2 years before he got hung or whatever the hell. It is, and I was looking it up, it is a Vienna lager, which it does, taste like, so matches up and makes sense. It is definitely more breadier and maltier than Modelo, so it's got a, bigger body to it. It's not like a beer you can quite, just sit down and pound away on a hot day. But with that breadiness and maltiness, there's nothing really, like, too complicated about it. It's got that note and then crisp finish. It's not bad. I wouldn't go out of my way to get it because I think Modelo's better.
Mm-hmm.
For me, when it comes to like the macro, cervezas, Modelo for me is like the gold standard. It's like the best balance to taste, price point, so it's not bad. I'm glad to, try it again. Bottles look nice. I don't think it had like this label at the time, so it's got this nice like classic look.
Yeah.
I do love on the website they say, like, for their story, born in the heart of Mexico. Our story begins in Toluca, the capital of Estado de Mexico, where Agustin Mirandas founded a craft brewing shop in 1865.
Did they call it that back then?
Yeah, no.
A craft. I'm going to be opening a craft beer store. Yeah.
That guy, like, Jim Cook owes him some money. Like, what the hell? Like, But it's just funny because it's like that they have it founded a craft brewing shop. Probably meant, like, in-house, like he's, at home brewery. But, I mean, having that, it's like, this is, no. Yeah.
That's hilarious, though.
But it's funny that they have it in there on the website written as that. Like, a craft brewing shop in 1865. As Napoleon III's French troops marched into Guadalajara, I opened up my craft beer shop,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not bad. Yeah. I'm curious to what it would taste like with like a lime or some kind of citrus.
Sure, yeah, I didn't do that either myself.
I'm sure with like a lemonade it'd be perfect. Like a nice, mix.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, all of these beers that Modelo makes, which includes Corona, Modelo, and Victoria, they all have a very distinctively similar flavor to them, but with each one has like this one little tiny little change up that makes it just slightly different from the others. I think if you like a cerveza, you're probably going to like them all to some extent. You're probably going to like one more than the other. And I do think that Victoria has this weird middle ground of being maybe a little bit too malty and too bready to really stand out as being something that you want to go for when you're hot and sweaty. But it still is drinkable enough. So I enjoyed it for what it was. And you're right, I do really like the label. I don't remember seeing this throwback style label that looks very, very authentically Mexican.
1880s,
Yeah. But and the whole idea behind getting a cerveza or something from Mexico is because the Wild Bunch, is about more than half the film takes place in Mexico. It's kind of on the Texas-Mexico border.
Hold on, I believe, as Peggy Hill would call it, it's called Mexico.
Yes.
You have to say it like that. It's like John Carpenter's Halloween. You have to say Mexico.
One of my favorite jokes now is to say it's a very inspired mix that we call Tex-Mex. The cross between Texas and Mexico. Very inspired. So
we had some nice Lipton bag Spanish rice.
That's right.
Or Ben's original bag rice. Which, little side note here. Listen, everyone, come around the campfire for this one. If you're buying microwavable Ben's rice, no matter the flavor,
you're not Mexican.
No, it's not. You're not Mexican. I'm not talking about just in Spanish. Just don't buy it.
Just don't do it.
Just make the rice yourself. It's not that hard. Just
that's right.
Throw it in a rice cooker and forget. Put the accoutrements in it. Just don't do it. It's amazing because I have just tried them. Bought the Spanish rice, the lime cilantro rice, and or whatever. It's amazing how fucked up and terrible it is.
It's very true. I don't really like it either myself. But. All right, so speaking of good rice, we're going to Mexico with the Wild Bunch. This is, as we said, a Sam Peckinpah film, which I want to point out. I don't know if we pointed it out in Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, but when you have a last name like Peckinpah, you're almost expected to put out a nice Western film, like the name or a crime film. I think he was in the right wheelhouse of filmographies with the films that he released, because Peckinpah as a name is just the perfect Western style name in my opinion.
And The Getaway,
Right, exactly. it's just I don't know, something about the name is just so fitting for a Western style film.
It's a beefy name.
It is, yeah. It's beef. Yeah, I agree.
It's like John Ford. It's so generic on that.
Yeah, sure.
It's this asshole pumps out 5 Hollywood westerns in the 40s left and right, no problem,
Yeah.
Here when you hear Peckinpah, it's he's gonna be doing the opposite. He's gonna be doing the gritty film, one that's
That's right. Yeah. And I also would have to say that one of the co-writers on this film, Waylon Green. Okay, Waylon, great name for a Western film as well. Like that's you've got it. That's what
why?
you need. That's know why? Yeah, just
What the
straight
fuck's up with that?
Straight up voweling it out with the W. Yeah.
You know what else he wrote?
No, I don't know what else he wrote.
A RoboCop 2.
Oh, did he? Yeah. It's funny because his claim to fame is not RoboCop 2 on here. you would have thought that would have been listed out right away, but it's not. And he also apparently was a big producer on the Law and Order film or TV series and a lot of other TV series, NYPD Blue, stuff like that. He was very into TV later on in his career.
Well, that's good because original Law and Order, best Law and Order.
That's true.
I will fight every, drunk housewife that thinks SVU is better.
That's true.
There's no Hingham High McCoy. There's no Jerry Briscoe. Or, in the later seasons, Anthony Anderson.
Well, that's the Law and Order Wild Bunch, but we're talking about the Western Wild Bunch of this film, which includes William Holden as Pike, the main leader of this Wild Bunch. You got Ernest Borgnine as Dutch, which I always, now I have to say the name like that, Dutch. You can never say Dutch. That's right. You can never say Dutch, just generally like that because it's got to have that accent.
A goddamn plan.
And I think that the film itself is sort of like, and you can let me know what you think, but it is sort of an ode to some of the spaghetti westerns that had come before it, of the group of lawless guys who are sort of banded together. And then start to find out that, like, hey, what's going on here? The West is changing, and I'm changing with it, right? Like, sort of the idea behind a lot of these movies, especially, post war time period, especially, in 1969, is the idea that the world changes, and, in the course of a few years, it's not the same type of world that you used to know. And I think that is very, very much a part of a post-Vietnam War idea as well, because of the world changing particularly for people coming back from the Vietnam War. But it also kind of envisions that in a revisionist history about, the Wild West, the frontier that used to be. And by the stage in the Wild Bunch, the film, in 1913, we're really, as you said before, we're really at the tail end. Like, this is the end of the line. They even towards the end of the film, they bring out an automobile in terms of, like, there's sort of that context of, like, look, everyone's riding horses and they're using an automobile to drag somebody. That's kind of the epitome of where this film is going, in that, where the Wild West is ending. It can't continue. And, this is the end of the line for these guys as outlaws. And kind of the idea behind it is that they kind of want to be at the end of the line as outlaws. I think very early on in the film, there's this great, it's literally the first part of the movie, is this great shootout that occurs right at the beginning where they're stealing railroad money, right? And they go into this town that has the railroad money, and they basically take it over, and they have a shootout with a bunch of bounty hunters, basically, who are there to stop them from getting the money. And in this town, this is just like a bloodbath that occurs, right? Like there's just townspeople everywhere who are innocently slaughtered by who knows who, outlaws.
Mainly the bounty hunters.
Yeah,
which is the funny thing about it, which is also like the great thing about it, because again, like, it's not this heroic picture of this scenario, and excuse me,
like a John Wayne, like you were saying before.
You know, it's not this noble action. Like,
Sure.
You got the one guy sitting there like, if they move, I'll fucking kill them. You know, part of Pike's gang, and the bounty hunters are just sitting there itching like, oh, I see someone. I see they're like, there's 12 of them up on the fucking roof, and once the shootout starts, they both plaster everyone, but it looks more like the bounty hunter and are the one that are killing the civilians.
Yeah.
The town totally gets wiped out, and at the end, it's great just because you see the people of the town that survived. Like, God damn it, you killed everybody.
Yeah.
What the fuck? And they're like, we're the railroad and we have the law on our side. And they're like, well, fuck you, what does that mean? And it's like a good point to bring. It's like, yeah, you're hunting these criminals and the law says try to go after them, but does it mean you get to mow down a whole fucking town of poor temperance women that just want their husbands to stop drinking so they won't get beaten anymore?
That's right. Yeah, there's that whole great scene where they are swearing allegiance that they won't drink anymore. It doesn't matter because they're going to get mowed down, expeditiously by bounty hunters who are supposed to be there to protect everybody. And this is a great point too. Even back in the Wild West days, or as how Sam Peckinpah imagines it, at least, the cops weren't here for you. They were here for property, right? They were here to protect the rich people's property, and whether that be the federal agents or if that's the bounty hunters that they've employed, they're not there to protect the general folk. And that's what basically happens in the Wild Bunch, especially in that beginning scene, is just this massive shootout where no one really cares about the innocent bystanders. And I think too. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and you really get to see how shit-heeled they are, because yes, we get to see how Pike and his gang are a bunch of miscreants that they're not even anti-heroes, you shouldn't love them either, but the bounty hunters, they're hopping down, I got somebody, like vultures, I'm gonna pick his boots and fucking, that's my shot, no, that's my bounty, how do you know, that's my 30-aught thing, it's so...
Well, it's pretty funny too, because again, I think we talked about in The Great Silence too, of the idea that the bounty hunters were really not that much better than the outlaws that they were hunting, and sometimes they were exactly the same. I think this film also imagines that. So Thornton, played by Robert Ryan, who is leading the charge for the bounty hunters, is effectively just an outlaw who he used to be an outlaw, right? He used to be in the same situation as Pike. They used to be together, and he's now employed to basically do the opposite, to take down an outlaw. But at the end of the day, the bounty hunters really are just people who used to be outlaws, who just like the kind of the chaos of hunting people, basically, and it's just a different method of living this outlaw lifestyle.
It's legalized.
Essentially.
The lifestyle of being legalized by you get to go and do all this shit. But you're doing it in the name of the law. And,
you're serving justice by, making sure that everybody's shot so that the railroad can keep its money. I think that's, again, like I was saying before, I don't think that The Wild Bunch necessarily is the first movie to really do those ideas. But it does come out in a very nice way in this film, in a very personable way. As you mentioned, I think the shootout is a key from Peckinpah. This is the first time we meet the Wild Bunch, right? They are our technical protagonists in this movie. And the first time we meet them, they are basically holding people hostage and having a massive shootout and making away with a bunch of railroad money.
Pike throws a goddamn clerk out to try to distract him. And he gets shot to shit.
Yeah, right. So there's the film obviously leaves us with no misunderstanding that these are, quote unquote good people either, right? They're not just innocent people that are down on their luck and they're looking for some money because they want to fund their town back home that's fighting against revolutionaries or something.
Bandits, socialists.
Yeah, and so I think that's kind of key. The film does not try to paint a particularly sympathetic viewpoint of the protagonist. And throughout the movie, it will continue to do so by basically showing that a lot of times, especially people like the Gorch brothers that are in this movie, are very much, kind of they're basically just lecherous dudes anyway, right? Like they really don't have a moral compass. They do their own thing, and sometimes that ends up being good, maybe tangentially, but at other times they're just kind of these lecherous scumbags, and that's an obvious intentional inclusion of these characters to kind of say, whoa, take a step back. These aren't your heroes necessarily. And I think you're completely right to point that out in that, the John Wayne type cowboy of the Western is generally particularly lauded throughout the movie. And there's really no way, there's no way that the film would ever sort of try to spin it up that like this John Wayne cowboy is in any way doing a bad thing.
The only like kind of comparison in this film for like that John Wayne character is Deke, because he's
he's trying to go do the right thing.
He's trying to do the right thing, and he's also like even if he didn't have that context, he's the straight man. Like as like everything's happening, he's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why are you doing this? Why, like, we don't need to do this, and like, if you just let me do that, like, so he's like he's our straight man. He's the voice of reason out of all this shit show, and he's, I would say, not even he's not a moral compass, but like
I think he's just there to kind of level it, right? Like to kind of say like he's kind of in the middle. And he's kind of there for the viewer to kind of check in and have that sort of, I would say almost more like just a normalized person that doesn't fit on either side of things. And I think that makes sense in the scheme of it, just to try to get, because the film is kind of what I would really consider gritty, right? It is, at its heart, a very gritty Western. It doesn't have a lot of, very obvious pieces of humor to it that, try to take you out of the gritty situation. It is, it does have like some laughs, but they're almost sometimes at the expense of what's going on in the film. So the laughs are almost like, they're not intended to be funny to the audience. The laughs are sort of funny to people who are like outlaws. They're like, ha ha ha, we got a machine gun, or like ha ha ha, like we've got 3 women and we'd only spend one gold doubloon. It's they're not like meant to be like super funny to the audience. And I think that's another thing that I do like about Peckinpah's movie, is that it really does not step out of its serious tone very much at all. It continues to be serious throughout, and have this very particular style about it that I think works really well. One thing I wanted to ask you about before we go too far into, after we get into the main storyline, is what do you think about the film's opening flashback sequences that are used? Because they're pretty stand out in the way that Peckinpah utilizes them. Like there's sort of like a storytelling that goes on that then kind of flashes to this flashback sequence. What do you think about how he does that?
I think it's fine. I think the only one that's kind of goofy is the one we see later with Pike explaining how he got like his wound. With, and it's supposed he's supposed to be looking like a young man, and he he's carrying some roses, and he's got a bottle of bourbon in his fucking pocket, and the woman hits him, and like that one's like corny and looks really weird just because it's like, all right, William Holden's not looking like a 20-year-old in this, like
yeah, no, I agree. They just shaved his mustache and called it a day, right?
Yeah, and it's just like, but like the rest of them, I think do a good job, and like it's the way he transitions, like, cause like usually in when it comes to like a flashback, it's like either like black and white or like color, like shot a certain way, with like the film grain or like the opacity of the camera to make like we're in a flashback, but like here it's just like jump cut and things are happening, things are going. I think it's fine, and I think it's just like fun little nuance for the film, like to see what happened, like when like you're halfway through the film, and when fucking uncles from Red Dead 1 and 2 is like, hey, my grandson was with you, and he's like, oh shit, and like what happened, and then you flash back to what happened to him and how he ends up dying, like it's I think it works well. It's like, and it's not used like a soup, like it's used like 5 times, so it's
it's not super frequent. Yeah. I found it interesting. I think that it's I kind of like the way that they do the flashbacks. I think you're right though, the one where that's showing his murdered lover and stuff like that is a little bit kind of goofy, and it almost feels soap opera-esque in the way that it plays out, and it's like like when she's taking off her robe and then she gets shot and the guy just runs away, skedaddles, and like that was it. I thought that was a little bit goofy, but otherwise I just found that interesting, the way that he did the it's kind of a particular flashback style that he has here. As is the opening of the film, the credit sequence. I really like the credit sequence of like how it kind of plays out, and you see things happening as they're riding into town, and then it sort of like does a stamp on them, and it's sort of like this very sepia toned, like
colored look.
Yeah,
each card
very contrasty. Credits shot. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's used as a inspiration in a lot of more contemporary, neo-Western styles to this day. So I thought that was cool.
What do you think about Pike Bishop helping the lady across the street?
Wonderful.
With her packages.
Probably didn't matter. Probably got blown to pieces right after that, but,
What was in those packages?
I'm going to guess chocolate chip cookies that she was sending around the railroad. So funny. All right, and but let's move on a little bit. Let's talk about, so the crux of this. Actually, the film has really 2 ideas at play, right? The first one is that the Wild Bunch are being pursued by bounty hunters, which we kind of talked about. Led by Deke, being pursued throughout this western area from Texas, and they keep kind of going into Mexico. It's just a way to get away from them.
I was gonna say, sorry to interrupt, but like Red Dead 2, the main guy that's funding the bounty hunting here is the guy that's like Leviticus Cornwall in Red Dead 2, rail magnate, who instead of it being the Pinkertons, it's just regular bounty hunter.
So they eventually make it to Mexico. And then part of the main idea of the film is that they kind of get roped into helping out this General Mapache, who is working with the government of Mexico, basically, to try to stop Pancho Villa, who is the Mexican revolutionary in the Mexican War. So they are kind of thrown into this, and which is really funny because they don't, the Wild Bunch as a whole tries not to get involved in these types of situations. Like, that is why they're outlaws in America, because they're not really following the federal government's rise to power, and they don't want to be made to constrained to rules. And yet they are now kind of forced into this situation where they have to work for Mapache to go back and steal guns from the railroad service. And it kind of opens up this really interesting dynamic in Mexico of the Mexican Revolution and the way that the villagers are being treated by both, Pancho Villa as the revolutionaries and the government, who are really trying to take control back in the revolution. I think that's, again, that becomes the major part of the Wild Bunch, in that it's kind of the thing that changes the Wild Bunch's mind, right? Specifically Pike, I think, at first, but then everybody kind of comes around to it. And Dutch in particular being the one that is kind of always the voice of reason and saying, like, listen, we're not like them particularly. We're not the same as these Mexican these Mexican generals who are just murdering people for fun, or taking over whole villages and enlisting these people. Whereas I think that the film kind of keeps coming back to the fact that, like, you sure about that? Tim Robinson meme, you sure about that? Like,
Sure.
you're pretty close to the same thing here at times. What do you think about that? Like the whole idea of, who the Wild Bunch see themselves as versus the identity that the film shows us?
I think it works really well because, again, you have the opening, robbery and sequence being them masquerading as, U.S. Army, and them having to, at the end of the day, work. They, agree to work for the Mexican federales for the gold. It's just like a good dichotomy to see, like, that it's all the same. Like,
Sure, yeah.
What they were doing, what they were doing, and what the army was doing, and what they're doing. Like, they personally just don't care. They're looking to get paid. And
Right.
get
Yeah.
out of there,
I think the difference too is, like, what they kind of see is, especially towards the end of the film, where Angel has some convictions he stands on, right? Like, he wants to help his village. They're being, basically slaughtered slowly by Mapache in the government, and there's really not much they can do about it besides try to fight back in this revolution. And so you see Angel with his convictions, kind of standing by them. Eventually, he ends up murdering his wife, who leaves him because, again, there's sort of this dichotomy between, like, who you are and who you were, and who you are after this sort of, like, thing happens to you that maybe changes your perspective, right? Like, so for her, it was easier to go along with the general and, like, leave her way of life and just live in this, live this way instead of having to actually stand on conviction and try to fight back.
And die.
And basically, and die. And I think that, like, again, that is another theme of the Wild Bunch, is, like, where do you stop and put your foot down and say, like, all right, this is where it ends. This is where I have to stop as an outlaw and kind of stand up for something. And Angel is really kind of that end point where the film comes to, especially when they give them such a brutal treatment where, eventually they go back, they've gotten the guns for the general, they bring the guns to them along with a machine gun, in a hilarious moment where they don't know how to use the machine gun at all and just start, like, blasting away, ripping through rounds, accidentally firing off the machine gun. But anyway, they bring.
I was gonna say I was dying laughing at them firing it off because they're, like, holding it around the barrel, which, like, that.
It'd be hot. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a water, cooled machine gun. So it's like, you have your arm, like, scalded and burned off. You're sitting there fucking holding it. And I do love the fact that, like, the German military advisor is like, it's gotta have a tripod. He's, like, yelling at them, like, and it's like, just, burning shit left and right.
But I think, like, that whole scene where, Angel comes back and they take him, and then Ernest Borgnine is forced to just ride away, saying, like, no, he's a thief. You do whatever you got to do to him. Is really brutal. And then later on, when they just show that they've just been dragging him around with an automobile for what looks to be hours of just dragging, is particularly devastating. And they show us.
I'm very upset that he looks so beat up and worn. That car can only do like 4 miles.
Yeah.
I was laughing at the guy that hopped on his fucking
right.
back
I was just riding. Yeah, no, I know.
Like if I
The Wild
was
West
like Ernest,
form of body surfing. Yeah.
if I was like Ernest Borgnine or any of them, they saw that, I'd be like, "You're the first one to die," because it's like it's one thing to be the the people driving the car towing him. It's the other thing to be the guy that's like, "We'll hop on, like woo," and
I know.
roadie.
I think that that brutality is great, like especially after they show Angel and just like the aftermath of it is excellent. He gets such brutally treated that the film kind of has to use that as the turning point for Dutch and Pike, and even the Gorges, who for the longest time have, like I said, have been sort of like these standoffish oafs that kind of do whatever they want to do, and they at one point they even are nearly mutinous with Pike because they think that he's just like a weak guy that they probably shouldn't be following anymore. So I think that whole idea behind Angel being the turning point in sort of the whole Mexican Revolution as a symbol of that is really cool. It kind of adds this idea that at the end of the day, the Wild West is ending, and these outlaws are finding out that like their lifestyle, first of all, is going away. Second of all, is probably not as noble as they first saw themselves, or not as harmless as probably what they thought of themselves. And it eventually leads them to see, as especially after Pike and the other guys are in the brothel basically, and see how these women are being treated, and they're basically like, all right, let's that's about enough of this now. It's no life to live. And so I think, like, again, the film is not saying like, look at these guys, they're such heroes at the end, right? They're not super heroic even at the end, because they're basically taking out the innocent people in the village too, by way of getting into this gunfight. So it's still not saying like, look, they're great heroes, but at the same time, it's sort of like giving them a send off to say, okay, they've had enough. They're trying to put a stop to the violence, basically.
Not only that, Pike mentions earlier in the film that when he's looking on some of the technology that's coming about, and he's like, well, our way's dying, and he's like, I don't think that, it is. There's not another way I'd love to live. I'd rather die. And so at the end of the film, is when you see him walking off from the prostitute he was sleeping with, he's like, I'm ready to die. He's not looking to get out. And
right.
The rest of them are, accepting it. And
yeah, I think that's an interesting point that it comes to, and Pike is really the leader in this. I think that even Ernest Borgnine's character Dutch, he's sort of already there, right, to some extent throughout the movie. He's sort of almost like not ready to die, but just accepting of the inevitable. I think at a certain point as an outlaw, you kind of get to that point where you're like, you have to kind of be accepting of it, that any time you ride out, it could be the time that you don't come back. Yeah. So I think that's really great, that it comes down to that at the end of the movie. One thing I wanted to get your opinion on it. This film does have quite a bit of some animal violence or at least dangerous horse maneuvers. I will say the one scene that really shocked me was when they blew up the bridge, and there's the whole scene where it shows the guys on horses actually falling into the water as the bridge blows, which I thought was tremendously good looking from a visual standpoint. But then I was thinking about it logistically, damn, were those horses actually okay after that? Or that seems like a very traumatic experience, even if they did survive. So what do you think about the animal violence throughout?
I'd have I'd have to check to see if everything was okay. But yeah, no, it's astounding work, but at the same time it's I hope the ponies are okay. Even when they're in Angel's Village and the dogs are bone.
Oh yeah, yeah, actually starved. Yeah.
it's actually emaciated. Like it's like, no, they're puppies. And love to check. I would love to hope that it's just visuals. No one was hurt along the way.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like that opening sequence where they have the ants and the scorpions. Also, like a pretty brutal moment where they just have the kids have these two scorpions that are trapped in like this stinging ant hill.
Fire ants or whatever the hell.
Yeesh.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're not people because they're insects, so it's okay.
Right, yeah, I know.
That's okay. Yeah,
I just think that's, like...
Scorpions are creepy, so fuck it.
Yeah, it was brutal, though. And like, again, that is sort of the point, sort of showing the brutalness of this life. But again, I was like, ooh, wow, those scorpions really, And again, it's not like we haven't covered, for difficult films. We've covered films with actual animal cruelty. But again, it was surprising to just see how much they actually did with the horses, like pulling their legs out when they kind of lassoed them and all that stuff. I was like, wow, they really, the stunts were really here. But it looks great, just kind of questionable in the animal cruelty way. And how do you what did you think about the soundtrack?
It's very good. It's like a great mix of like uplifting fun and heroism and broodingness.
Yeah, it's kind of like got this very Americanized Western soundtrack. It's sort of like what you now think of as the epitome of like American Western style. Very orchestral. It certainly differs from the spaghetti Western style of soundtracks. But I think it's sort of got this very thrilling orchestral soundtrack to it that works well.
There are parts of it that remind me of with the uplifting moments of like when we did Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Right.
Burt Bacharach's horns uplifting. It's not like an Ennio Morricone score where it's going to be like it lingers over and expands on the scene. Like the music's there kind of just push things forward and give a overall vibe to what's going on, not to enhance the scene. Not to
That's
say
right.
it's not that it's bad. I do think this score is pretty damn good. Like the parts where you get to see when they first get down in Mexico and they're frolicking with the whores and shooting the wine barrels and getting all covered in wine. Like it's like this joyous like I'm like, oh yeah, look at that, they're having such fun. Carousing with the ladies of the night and getting covered in sticky ass wine.
Hey, don't steal my my rating scale here. That was going to be my rating scale.
The wine, the sticky wine.
Yeah, on a scale of taking a shower in wine. I think again, I think that you kind of bring us back to another thing that I want to talk about, which is all of the alcohol abuse in this film. It's great. I love it because I love seeing people like Ernest Borgnine just like whip down hard brown liquor in like a gulp. Like 3 gulps. Is like, who's doing that? Only the hardest of the hard in the West are gulping down brown liquor like that.
You can see leave-in Cleve's like brow sweat.
Now if it was root beer, of course, you're hot, sweaty, and in the Mexican desert, you're gulping down root beer. But
we had these new fangled inventions like the root beer float that Mug and A&W has out now, which is like a creamy version of it.
Yep.
I just love when they're down in Mexico because they're obviously drinking tequila, but because tequila is clear and it's like, oh, they're just refreshing down there with spring water, passing the bottle around, drinking nice. But I do like that because it's usually when you see like a Western, it's always like by a campfire or something and like passing a bottle around. But they're literally like anything, horseback, whatever the fuck, turning their library books in. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, there's that whole scene where
don't mind if I do. Taking
they all swap spit there with the having a swig of it is sort of like a bonding experience. Like we need to go back to that more. A bonding experience of everyone just passing around one bottle of hard liquor and taking a big swig of it.
Hard brown liquor.
That's right. It certainly made me want some, though. I'll tell you that. And you know how you get the voice of like Pike or Ernest Borgnine, or even the one guy who plays like the crazy Uncle Sykes there. You smoke cigars and you just chug down brown liquor. That's how you get a voice like that. So I love Sykes though. Edmund O'Brien, he does a great job of playing this like crazy lunatic prospector looking guy.
He's like Uncle from Red Dead 1, Red Dead
but Uncle from Red Dead, you can kind of imagine, but he's still a video game character, right? But like Edmund O'Brien is able to pull it off in a way that like I don't think you could pull off at all anymore, unless maybe you had Willem Dafoe or something, right? Like Willem Dafoe, maybe.
Just thinking about like the yellow from the tobacco in his beard, like it's just so like. That can't be. And it's like, oh, yeah.
Exactly.
His teeth are all, like, rotted out. And he's like, he's great, absolutely great. He's probably the best part of the film for, like, the whole cast for the Wild Bunch themselves. I think you're right. He does probably, like, the best job at being,
right, like, just, like, living in it.
Yes, yeah. Because the Gorge brothers are bog standard, like, henchmen types.
Yep.
And Pike is, like, good of a job as William Holden does as Pike. He does a good job. I wouldn't say he's great because he's not charismatic at all. Like, I would find a hard time understanding why he's got a gang following him. Because he's like not charismatic at all. From seeing Ernest Borgnine as Dutch, you could see people following him because he's at least charismatic. Like he's fun. He's able to get people to like do things. So like I'm not saying William Holden's bad as Pike. I think he is like as a role one of the weaker parts of the film because he's kind of comes across more as a wet noodle Gene Hackman, with this way his mustache and like hat, and all that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know that he's extremely strong in the again like you're saying he doesn't necessarily conjure a reason why he's become such a leader.
Like Dutch from Red Dead 2, like listen to me, we need to find money. We need to get enough so we can avenge Hosea and go to Tahiti. Trust me. Trust me. We have you. I can. I do.
Yeah, I think like again.
That's my Dutch.
I think that again, like I think that he just doesn't have, or at least what it's not shown in the film, that there's a lot of leadership that comes out. He does give a couple of speeches. I don't think they're really all that good, especially the one where he gives where they're like I said they're considering leaving the group. And he kind of just gives a thing like, no, when you start something with somebody, you're going to end it with them. And I was like, okay, but like, how's that really convincing? I don't know if that was that convincing for them, but.
Well, it's the same thing too, because that's the reason why, like, that speech is the reason why they decide to like try to get Angel back. It's like, no, once you fight for a man, you stand by the man.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I mean,
it's like it's an idea, but like, does it get fully encapsulated? No, because at the same time, what the fuck do they care? Like, it's like they're the whole like that's the other thing too that like that does kind of annoy me about this film is the whole part of like you have William Holden like we're gonna survive no matter what. Do whatever the fuck it takes to survive, so we can get the money and fucking retire and be that done. Because this is like this is the last job, this is the last score. But you have like Ernest Borgnine being like, well, what about like he like. What he made a promise and like well I mean Pike being like he gave like Deke gave his word and he's like and Ernest Borgnine's like who the fuck cares, he gave his word to these assholes. He's like he gave his word and it's like what fucked up, and like again like the film doesn't really like go enough into it, but it's like what fucked up like mind fuck are you trying to go through to be like, listen, I like Deke. You used to run What's Good, man. I don't really want to kill him because, I mean, I like him, but he gave his word to help them kill us.
Right.
And it's like, they're bounty hunting railroad assholes. Like, it's like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, on, like, and it's only like, blank and you'll miss it type.
Sure. Yeah, I know it is.
But But at the same time, it's like, what? Like, what? What? Because if that's, like, the case, it's like, is that why they end up, like, it gives, and I don't think it's true, but, like, it gives the idea, like, well, we all die for Angel. Why? Because we gave him his word. You know, and...
It's true.
Which doesn't even make sense, because, again, Ernest Borgnine is the one that's, like, we have to help him because he's fucked. And we, and like but again, this is tangent. It's a very not that big of a deal, but I'm making it like.
Yeah. Like it just
do you
comes
get what
up.
I gotta say? Do you get what I'm saying? Though it's like
I do. Yeah. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Let's see. Anything else that I didn't bring up that you want to discuss?
Squibs.
Yes, squibs are good. The squibs look great. I mean, it has, like you said, definitely has a lot more squibs in it than some of the other American westerns of this time. It is much more violent in the way that it uses them. Like there's especially the brutality of blasting guys a couple times. The one scene where the
head squib, like with the one guy gets shot and.
Yeah. Or I was thinking of when they're up on the rocks when they're when the Mapache's army is confronting Pike and his gang, and the one guy just takes a shot, and then they tell the rest of the army to shoot that guy because they didn't give a firing order. It's pretty great. Yeah,
he gets shot like fucking.
Yeah, shot and falls off the mountain. It's great. I think the squibs work really well. They do look really good. It is a particularly violent movie for this time period for a western, and I like that for it. It just adds to the grittiness of the movie, I think.
Yeah, and definitely again, like it adds to the brutality and the hidden truth behind like these films. Because again, like when you watch these films. Generally like a John Wayne film. They're heroic and, they're slaughtering people by the, 50s, but it's like, well, there's no squibs. They're just Indians.
Yeah.
It's like, cattle rustlers or whatever the hell. It's fun and fine. And to show that brutality, like, I think is, great. Because again, as you were saying earlier, Vietnam's like, ratcheted up to 10 now, and like on the news every day you're coming home and seeing like, here's the US 5 and they're burning this hut down alive with kids in it and their family and I'm Tom Brokaw, I'll see you tomorrow. It's the film is definitely like nihilistic about it's the way that it's exploring the topic. I definitely think that the Vietnam War has some impact on the way that these types of films proliferated. Sure. All right, let's give The Wild Bunch a rating. So on a scale of 0 to 10 showers in wine, which sounds
Absolutely horrible. I would not want to take one.
No, I wouldn't want that either.
I would be giving 0 out of 10 to taking a shower in wine. But
even if there's titties beating you in the
that's
face.
right. Yeah.
It's
One woman was like throwing him over her shoulder because
Yeah.
What would you give The Wild Bunch?
I'd give it a 9 out of 10. This is a great film. I love it. I'm sad that this is like only the second time I've seen it. This film works beautifully. It's great in its nihilism and its storytelling. It's a lot of good thought and a lot of like good pacing. For a 2.5-hour film, it's a breeze. It's got a lot of fun in it. The action in this film is great. Can't recommend it enough. This is like pretty dang close to like a 10. Like a 10 for me. It's not like a perfect film, but it's pretty damn close, and it's just the epitome of like an anti-western, like and a deconstruction, and
Yeah.
Peckinpah just does a great job with it. So 9 out of 10. I can't recommend it enough. Go check it out. It's great.
I'm going to give it 8.75 out of 10. I think it's a really good Yeah. I think it's a really good movie. I think that it does a good job of managing a more Americanized version of this Western style, that kind of sets it apart from a spaghetti Western, while also managing to touch on a lot of the same themes as some of the previous movies that have come before it. I think like it kind of blends a little bit the idea of American films with spaghetti Westerns in that, again, we're not trying to find our protagonists to be the best heroes to follow. They're more so just another group that also is about the same in the way that they terrorize, as we see with the Mapache and his group. So I think that it's a really interesting movie. I think that has a lot of great sequences of action, whether it be the first shootout sequence or the heist scene where they're stealing the railroad, the engine with all the guns on it. Another great scene, or even the conclusion of the shootout. Like there's a lot of care taken to really map out those sequences, and they look really good.
Which, sorry to interrupt. By the way, I forgot with that because we mentioned it. Good job on not blowing the trains up when they hit.
Right? Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Charles Bronson was not around to watch those trains go up in smoke.
That's right. They just like a nice smashing and
yeah.
Yeah, I like that too. I like it. We didn't even talk too about how comical it makes the army look, which is really funny. Like when everybody's sleeping and they're just stealing the train right out from under them. They wake up like what happened? And then the bounty hunters are blasting out in their horse, and they're still trying to get their horses out. Like 45 minutes later, as the train's already come and gone.
You could hear the fucking entertainer playing like.
It's great. It's a really funny. But again, like I said, the film is mostly gritty, and I do appreciate that. I think that it does a good job of showcasing that. I think also it's just a really good looking movie. Peckinpah has a really great way of like a spaghetti Western, displaying like the grit and the dirt and the dust of this particular time period and area. So I really enjoyed it. I think it's a really entertaining movie. I'm giving it an 8.75 out of 10. Definitely
I think that
check
might
it
be
out.
the first 0.75 film rating on the show.
Yeah, it could be. It's funny. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed our episode on a Western for this series that we're doing, Red Hot Action Summer Westward Ho. If you liked it, you should come back for us each week, because we're going to be doing 5 movies in total, and we'll have an episode for you every week going throughout August. So it's going to be a fun time. We're going to be back again next week with a different era of Western. Should be fun. Come listen to us, hang out, talk about Westerns, and drink some hard liquor.
That's what we're doing from now on. We're just going to be blasting
That's right. Just going to have hard liquor and chug around. All right. Well, if you did enjoy us, you should subscribe to us on pretty much any podcast app you can think of. We're on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, our home base at Spotify, whatever you use. I'm sure we're on it, so subscribe, leave us a nice review. That always helps us out. We're on Facebook and Blue Sky. You can just search for us on there, Blood and Black Rum Podcast. You can also write to us at bloodandblackrumpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, what movies you want us to watch, and we'll definitely keep that in mind. And then also, you can donate to us on our Patreon page. Anything you donate goes back towards beer, so we appreciate that in advance. Again, thanks for listening. Hope you stick around for Red Hot Action Summer Westward Ho, continuing all August long. And until next time.
Take care.